Let's talk about my favorite relic in Nightreign, which honestly should be at the top of the meta. Yes, I do mean higher than the Evergaol relic everyone uses, and despite this, no one seems to be talking about how good it is or why. This is a single relic effect, it doesn't stack so there's no need to have 3 of it, it can give you absurd amounts of HP, and technically more damage than Evergaol buff when you actually think about it. Have you guessed what it is yet? It's partial HP restoration on post-damage attacks. Wow, that's a mouthful. Malenia Rune, but as a relic effect, without any direct nerfs to it whatsoever. If you're unfamiliar with Elden Ring, it's like the rally effect from Bloodborne. If you're unfamiliar with Bloodborne, what's wrong with you? Anyways, if you get hit, you can heal some or even all of the damage back if you attack quickly enough afterwards. Oh, but Seagull, doesn't MGR kinda suck? Oh yeah, sure, maybe, if you just refuse to think about it whatsoever. Many of my fans will remember that I made a full Elden Ring build based solely around the healing from MGR, and it was strong enough to beat Consort Radahn several times in a row without much effort, almost no dodging, and only a couple buffs. Clanky then made his own video with a build that's equally as brain dead to use, so clearly the healing is nothing to scoff at. While I do think MGR in Nightreign is stronger on paper than it was in Elden Ring due to a variety of reasons, it's not as exploitable to this extent, but that doesn't mean it isn't still very strong. Some of my more dedicated fans will remember that I put out a video comparing health and damage as concepts in Elden Ring, and one of my target points is that health actually is the same as damage on an indirect level. Quick algebra lesson: if it takes you X amount of hits to die, and Y amount of attacks to kill the boss, then Y divided by X is the average amount of attacks you will need to land before getting hit yourself, which is a simplistic indication of how difficult a boss will be, not accounting for the actual moveset. You can reduce this difficulty value by either raising your damage to decrease Y, or raising your effective health to increase X, or you can increase both health and damage to make the difficulty even smaller. That means for all intents and purposes, a 20% total HP buff is one and the same as a 20% damage buff, at least when it comes to helping you win. This means you generally want to look at the value, costs, and synergies when looking at a buff instead of focusing on whether it gives damage or defense. That goes for all RPGs, by the way, not just Souls-likes. In Elden Ring, the defense values were simply much stronger on average, though there were definitely some use cases for either side. That trend has continued in Nightreign, with most forms of HP buffs and damage negation being significantly stronger than attack-related buffs. This relic effect is no exception. Let's say you get hit and heal 30% of your HP back on average every time due to the relic effect. This means you essentially took 30% less damage, making it the approximate equivalent of having 30% negation. And as I covered in my defense video, negation values are much stronger than they look due to the inverse relationship between damage intake and effective HP. Reducing your damage intake by 30% is effectively increasing your total HP, therefore total possible damage in any given fight, by 42.8%. You know what other relic can give you a 40% buff to your character? Late game Evergaol meta. That's right, buying this one relic for 1000 merc can give you a boost that's automatically on par with the agreed upon best relic in the game, and you don't have to actually do anything different. You don't have to build it up throughout a run, you don't have to play a specific character or route a specific way. It can even be used alongside Evergaol meta if you want. Even your weapon doesn't matter, aside from bows, which don't get the effect, but I mean, let's face it, Iron Eye doesn't really need another thing going for him, and even then he can still use it with melee. This means MGR is single-handedly the highest value, lowest cost relic related thing you can get in the entire game. It blows the Evergaol meta out of the water, and it works even better in multiplayer because the boss has to target 3 different players, so you're much more likely to have opportunities to get your health back. Having the effect on any relic should already be a staple in almost every build you use. The relic you can buy already comes with effects that help you utilize this one, and if you get this effect on anything else that's good, you basically have a god roll. But Seagull, you said the relic would give you more damage on top of health. You're right, and I wasn't just talking about the health as damage thing either. It does actually increase your DPS as well. This is a more nuanced topic that I wanted to cover for a while that I like to call turn manipulation. I know we generally don't think of them this way, but most free-flow combat games are actually turn-based games in disguise. It's just that the boss attacking is like the end of your turn, and the opening afterwards is like the start of your turn. Much like all great turn-based games, these turns can be manipulated in your favor. Every single character in Nightreign has some form of turn manipulation in their kit. Wilder can start his turn much earlier by using grapple to quickly approach an attack without using any stamina. Revenant can summon allies with their own turns while also attracting enemy attention, extending her turn as well. Recluse and Iron Eye both have a high focus on long distance combat, so they have to deal with enemy turns for less time. Guardian, Executor, and Duchess all have strong defensive options that let them stay close during enemy turns and therefore start their own turns right away. Raider simply insists that it's still his turn, and the enemy will just have to deal with that, which is in my opinion the strongest option available. What if I told you MGR can also manipulate turns? How many times have you gotten hit and even though you had a good opening to grieve for an attack, you wanted to play it on the safe side and drink a flask instead? Every single time that happened, that's a possibility for this relic to give you more damage, as you could have saved yourself a turn by attacking instead. That's right, this relic doesn't just give you HP, it gives you HP in a way that allows and incentivizes you to stay aggressive. If you're at full health with heavy weapons, there's dozens of trades you can make now that you might not have wanted to before. And keep in mind that more aggression also means more stance damage, therefore more crits, which means even more damage. And if you get lucky, you might get a chance to heal with a crit, which basically just means you're guaranteed all your health back. And the craziest part about this relic, I'm still not done. Remember how I mentioned value, cost, and synergy earlier? MGR can actually synergize as well if you build around it, hypothetically speaking. Let's say you take 50% less damage for, whatever reason, but still heal the same amount from the relic. Negation doesn't just increase your effective HP, but it also increases your effective healing. This means that instead of healing 30% of the HP you lost, you're actually healing 60% on average, which means instead of the relic giving you 42.8% more effective HP, it's actually giving you a humble 150% boost in HP. This stacks with the effective HP buff the damage negation already gives you, which is why getting as much negation as possible, however you can, is objectively the best way to use this relic. This is literally the exact reason builds like this perform so well in Elden Ring. You can very easily reach a point where most, if not all your damage intake was being healed by the time you take damage again, thanks to the synergy between Malenia Rune and damage negation, which made builds like these basically immortal. It's much harder to reach this kind of situation in Nightreign because there's way less options in terms of hyper armor, but it's still very strong. That's why I think Raider is definitely the best character when it comes to using this relic, since his playstyle already heavily involves taking hits and armoring through him. That said, you can absolutely make tons of use of this relic with any class, even Recluse, since spells also count for the effect. Now that I'm done with my glazing session, let's finally talk downsides. The only one actually worth mentioning is execution. All this crazy math doesn't mean anything if you don't actually land the attack fast enough to heal, which may end up with you healing nothing. It also doesn't account for enemies that one-shot you early in a run, and in these heartbreaking scenarios, you end up completely wasting one effect slot in one relic. Yeah, that's right. If by some miracle you get no tangible healing from the relic, it's not like your build sucks now. You still have 2 relics with whatever you want, a bunch of negation buffs, which by the way are usually amazing options anyway, and you still have all the damage you need with the levels and weapon upgrades, so you're not worried about clearing things fast enough. The cost of using this relic is virtually non-existent, and the benefits can range anywhere from a decent HP buff to literal immortality. Unlike some other builds that rely on you completely throwing your entire moveset under the bus for maybe a slight DPS increase, MGR can be your best relic in any build or playstyle, and it works even better in situations where you're using stuff that's already good. If there's any relic that unironically deserves to be called the new meta, it's MGR, and it's not close. Be sure to like and subscribe for more Nightreign content and whatever other game that I decide to make videos on. Who knows? I'm eccentric, deal with it. Bet you can't guess what my next video will be. Do all the algorithm crap.